Good morning, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hey.
Everybody, welcome to the Peace and Pivot Summit. Okay, my green screen's just doing weird stuff this morning. There we go. Look, we're working. Good morning, Juliet. Good morning, Elizabeth. How's it going today?
I'm
Really good.
great, thank you. Thanks,
Really
Scott.
good.
Yeah, we're
Really
excited.
glad.
So,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
go
Go ahead,
ahead.
Elizabeth. I'll shut up.
It's okay. Yes, we all like to talk, all three of us. So I'm Elizabeth Bauchman, and I'm a friend of Juliet's, and then Juliet introduced me to Scott, and we've been doing various things. And I've been thinking about what can we do to be, how can we do to pivot our businesses considering how much is changed now, and pivot and plan. And Juliet said, and come to peace with the fact that everything's changed. Indeed. And it started out, Juliet and I were going to have a 10-minute Facebook Live conversation. And then we said, no, we needed more people. And Juliet said, let's ask Scott to be part of it. And I said, yes, absolutely. Oh, good. And we now have 2 days worth of experts to talk about coming to peace with the fact that everything's changed now, how much it's changed, and how much what the new normal is going to be, how different will that be, and how do we take that into account and pivot. So I seem to have Scott on my screen, so I'm going to turn it over to Scott for a moment to see what your thoughts are about today.
Well, I think it's always exciting. I think everything's going on, and I think everybody at some point has to pivot their business in a variety of ways. I know Julie and I have talked about that quite a bit over the last few months in a variety of issues before we've run into this chaos out there, right, Juliet?
Yes, definitely.
So let's for a lot of people, they're going through a lot of chaos right now, figuring, okay, how do I put my business online? How do I take it from a face-to-face, person-to-person business or a brick-and-mortar business to something that's online and virtually still connected with my clients? The world is constantly evolving. Fortunately for us, years ago, we moved and went away from in-person hotel kind of teachings to virtual events, and it's paid off well for us and helped out in a variety of people here with everything going on. But I think it's the beautiful thing is we are in such it really is a small world where people really do have a big hearts to help out at this point. So Juliet, you kind of been spearheading a lot of this stuff as well too. So why don't you talk about what the Peace and Pivot Summit kind of means to you as well?
Well, I have to say I saw a lot of people go out and say, let's throw a summit. And by the way, your business isn't going to survive unless you have a summit. And I thought, oh my gosh, look at all this fear. A lot of small businesses are not online. And I just felt like we needed to do something different that was more in service. So that's really what it's all about. I talk to people every day and they're anxious and they're really not understanding what their next steps are. Even people who are already online. I know there are a lot of people that aren't, but those people who are kind of at the point too, where like, whoa, what just happened? So that was kind of where I thought about this is, the piece is we're all in this together and let's figure out why we're anxious and what's going on. And hopefully some of this morning's guests can minimize that a little bit. And, what's my pivot financially? What is my pivot that I can do today that I don't have to go out and buy a bunch of stuff? Because I think for most of our people, we have content and hopefully tomorrow you're going to get some great content ideas that won't cost much. Because it's just not the time to go out and be fearful and make people think that you have to do one thing. There are a lot of different things you can do. So that's sort of where the genesis of this started for me was I had a pit in my stomach when I was watching some of these people go out and tell them this is the only way, this is the only pathway through this. There are always options.
Yeah, I'm also finding that there are a lot of people who are stuck in fear, and then they think, now what do we do? But what do I do about my bank account? And then what do I do? And so I sort of think of this morning. This morning is about mindset, and this afternoon is about money and moving forward. So we could make it the 3M conference, except that name was taken. So uh,
They're just a small company that goes by 3M too. Out of
it's just a little bitty company. Yeah, I know.
We should sue them for that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right.
So
Do we
ladies,
have time?
So
Yeah.
as people are logging in or people are joining us on Facebook and stuff like that, we encourage you to use a couple of things. We'd love for, first and foremost, if you're watching on Facebook, to share this. Click this and share this to your profile. This is a free event. It is not a pitch fest. They can go to peaceandpivot.com and register directly there. They'll take them straight to the Zoom link and they can join the webinar. I want to thank you all those that are joining us here online. But if there's a nugget, if there's a discussion, one of our speakers shares something, take a screenshot and then share it with hashtag peace and pivot. And we'd love to see that stuff. You never know, we might have some door prizes or some special giveaways for folks to share it across the board for things like that. Hashtag peace and pivot.
Where?
Oh, we got somebody coming on here. Let's see here. We got to mute some people there. I think Michelle's getting her coffee.
Oh, Michelle's on.
She's on early this morning. And I see Chef Marie's also joining in and watching as well, too. We'll get to those amazing people. But why don't you ladies, let's talk about day one here. What's on tap for those that are joining the Peace and Pivot Summit?
So this is Elizabeth again, and we have our first three speakers are Rhonda Britton, who is Oprah's life coach, who's talking about fear and living fearlessly, which is really wonderful. And that's followed by the amazing Tina Greenbaum, who is a high performance coach also. And she talks about, her company is all about mastery under pressure. And she's going to talking about how we're responding and grief being a normal response to abnormal times. And then we have Michelle Young, who's actually on the line, who's going to talk to us about moving forward. And those are the first three. And then in the afternoon, we have Laura Posey talking about a one-page, get your plans done in one page. And Penelope Jane Smith talking about managing irregular cash flow if you have an irregular income. I always like that one. I've learned a lot from her. And then after that, we have help. I'm blanking. I'm not even looking at my list here.
Meryl Chandler.
Meryl Chandler, right.
Come on,
I knew it was another M. Right. Meryl Chandler about millionaires being made in crisis. And we end the speakers with Dom Fawcett, who is fabulous about really getting yourself in gear and so forth. And at the end of the day, we're going to have virtual networking plus a wine tasting. And actually, Chef Marie is going to give us some tips about cooking at home when you're shut in. And is Ross joining us for wine tasting?
Yes, I talked to him. He's going to try to make it. He's got a very busy day, but I talked to him a few minutes ago. I think he'll show up for a little bit, and then he'll be here again tomorrow for the pivot panel as well. So perfect. Yeah. So do one of you want to talk about tomorrow, what we're expecting for tomorrow? Juliet?
Do we want to do that or do we want to surprise them? No, I'm just kidding. So tomorrow's really going to be about your pivot plan that's in action. Scott's going to be on in the morning talking about how you can do that, putting that plan together. And I think that's going to be such a great complement with Laura Posey's financial on one page, because I think you can put those side by side and really see where you're going and what you're doing. After that, we're going to have Leanne Marie Webster talking about summits, how to create virtual events and what the secret is to really making a great one. You can tell all of us are, no, I'm just kidding. All of us already know. And then after that, we're going to talk about crisis or opportunity. Elizabeth's going to be talking a little bit about some strategies to get you heard above the noise. Because if you've been out on Facebook or LinkedIn or any of those things lately, there's a lot of noise. Everybody's figured out they need to be online doing this, but a lot of them aren't quite sure how to do that. And then I'm going to be talking about lead qualification and how it serves everybody. It's really important right now to be talking to the right people and getting those people, building those relationships. This is not the time to rely on clicks and funnels because people want to talk to real people. And then after that, Tracy Hazard's going to be talking to us about creating digital brand awareness and credibility. She is an Inc. magazine contributor and knows all about doing that. And then we're going to be pivoting into Patrick Precourt, who's going to be talking about pivoting when life punches you in the face. I'm sure that's going to be very comical.
Patrick, here's a little story about Patrick. Patrick is pivoted several times from the real estate side to short sales, everything going on. He built a big show. He's one of the big guys behind Fortune Builders and building their brand across the reality TV. Flipped his house, their coaching and stuff like that. Then he's also at age 40, he decided he was going to be an MMA fighter. So if that tells you, because he's got a big gym in Connecticut where he's at, and he's a great. So I don't want to take too much from it. I don't know if you'll get to this because he's got a little different story each time. But at the age of 40, he trained for months, jiu-jitsu and all this stuff. Walked into the first fight, first punch, got knocked out cold.
Oh.
And I think it's so pivotal, hashtag, with that, because I think a lot of people are feeling that whole like cold cock to the right jaw with everything that's happened and put everybody in asunder basically out there with things going so crazy out there. So I thought a great way to wrap it. And his passion, energy, if you've never heard Patrick Precourt speak, will blow you away. And so you definitely want to tune in for that. That keynote. Dom's great keynote today as well too. I think we're really starting it off well and then ending well both days.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then we're going to end up with a pivot panel. We have some people we're bringing on that have done amazing pivots in the last couple of weeks. Ross Halleck has a subscription wine service or membership, and he changed it in a way that brought the whole community in. And so he's helping vendors out up in the Sonoma wine region, and magician Heather Rogers as well, who's hysterical, by the way. I've seen interviews with her, and she's going to be on that pivot panel too and talk a little bit about that. So really excited about day 1 and day 2, and the fact that you're going to get all this great information without a bunch of salesy pitches. So that really excites me too.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, hopefully Heather can help us all pull a rabbit out of the hat.
I usually say my butt, but we're in public, so.
So let's do this. What's a couple things while we're waiting? Rhonda will be joining us here in a few minutes. She always comes on right at about the right time. But what's maybe a nugget for those that are listening or watching the replays? What's one big thing that you ladies have done in pivoting here in the last couple of weeks?
Juliet, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about it. So I was already kind of in mid-pivot from the beginning of the year. But one of the things I've done is I'm really not taking on new coaching clients. And that's probably not a great pivot, but I'm just doing the Build For You quizzes instead, because I realized that there's a need while people are on these summits and out speaking and in different venues that they really need that lead pre-qualification. So I'm in and out with the builds now. And I'm actually loving it much better. It's so kind of funny how when the universe kind of thumps you on the head and says, change, and you go, no, no, no. And when you have to, it works out and you realize, oh, wow, there was something better here. So I'm really loving that pivot that I'm doing a lot.
I'm also having fun really helping people think about what can you do now. So I work with corporate clients and with entrepreneurs, and it's really about taking into mind the fact that things have changed. One of the questions I sent out to all the speakers is, what do we do if this shutdown, lockdown situation or this economic situation lasts for 2 months and then we're done? What do we do if it lasts for 4 months? And what do we do if we last for 6 months? Please God, no, but that would be, what do we do? How do we make a plan for it? How do we think about it? How can we actually do something? And
I think the first reaction would be this.
Yay, he brought his toys. Did you bring the pig?
It's at the office.
Ah! My
Send
unappreciated pig.
Sorry there. Didn't mean to take us off, Heather, Elizabeth.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I certainly have had plenty of times in my life where everything changed and I sort of curled up under the covers with an escapist novel and, ate a whole lot of ice cream. And I'm bound and determined not to do that this time. So this is part of the delight of this. And I actually feel kind of like a grown-up for a change every once in a while. Is that, okay, pivoting, you can pivot. There are things to do. There are places to go. One of the things I really love is watching how many people are reaching out and being super creative in this time. Not all, some of the creative things are, it's like, okay, I don't really need to see that, but it's really fun to see how people are creating and developing all sorts of cool new stuff. This is the time. If you're not speaking yet, I'm a speaker trainer. So if you're not speaking yet, now's the time to be starting. Now's the time to be figuring it out and doing the legwork or the letting your fingers do the walking, so that when we start meeting in person again, and we will, then you've already got a community. You already know what you're going to say. So part of what I'm going to talk about tomorrow is how to be heard above the noise, to treat this as an opportunity. And there's a lot of noise right now. What makes you different? So that's a big part of what I'm looking at.
It makes a lot of sense. And that's the thing. I think we've all got different skills maybe that we don't realize. And I think it's honing in on, okay, maybe we can't do some of the things we do. What are the 3 or 2 or even 1 skills that we have, and narrowing it down is going to be productive, not only for us, but also value, like what Juliet's doing with just the quizzes now, kind of streamlining things. Hey, let's just do something that's impactful, that a lot of people can take on. The same thing here. We dropped went from doing a quarterly workshop. We dropped it down. Hey, let's do a 1-day class once a month and drop it down to like $19. So it's something at least affordable, but a little bit of investment on those that are interested. I think everybody's increased videos, increased amount of media that they're doing that's effective, whether it's being on podcasts as interviews or doing live training or video. I've seen people doing that. Woke up this morning to 2 of my friends doing yoga training online at sunrise from the beach, even in Florida, to other people just having meditation or virtual happy hours these days. We did one like that with our podcasting group last week, which was productive. Elizabeth, you were on that as well too for you.
It was really fun.
Yeah, and that's the thing is it's the worst thing I think people can do is shelter in place and just hide. Bar the doors, huddle underneath the covers, and cry. We all probably cried the first few days as crazy stuff was going on as things were getting canceled. But okay, we've done that. Pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, get to peace with what we're doing, and figure, okay, how do we do this? Because that's really the only way that you do lose is just to quit and not do anything. There's a variety of different things out there that we can all do to strive forward. And maybe it doesn't lead to immediate impact, but we can plant a whole lot of seeds that we can harvest in the future, right?
Absolutely. And I think it's really about resilience right now. You mentioned, I know I did the first 2 days while everybody was canceling. I was like, oh my gosh, oh, whoa. But, picking myself back up and just saying, okay, I'm going to do whatever I have to do. And however it works out, it works out. And for those of you out there who know me, that's so not me. So this is, I've talked to Michelle Young several times about, wow, this is kind of challenging. Like what happened to driver Juliet, but there's not a lot you can do in being a driver right now. You're not in control of all this.
Yeah. And you've
What
also,
a concept. We're not in control.
What'd you say, Scott?
I say you actually even moved in the middle of all this stuff.
I did. And I haven't, guys can see, I haven't mastered the lighting in this new room yet. I have some stuff on order, but yes, I moved. But you know what? Moving was really a great experience because I always have to be doing something. And so it gave me time to pack and unpack and keep myself busy, because that's my biggest challenge right now is growing and keeping myself busy.
That's the big thing. Elizabeth, what's been the biggest challenge for you over the last couple of weeks?
The biggest challenge has been actually some things people haven't changed completely. Yeah, it hasn't changed that bit. What is that my clients have changed. So I'm creating new material. I'm creating material about how can I teach the things that I know are true that I can teach and nobody else teaches, and then reach out, really actually strengthening my relationships, because I fully believe the best thing to do, if everybody and their brother is out there doing online training, then the chance of getting brand new eyeballs is probably not so great. There's a lot of competition. But what I can do is strengthen the relationships with the people who do know me, the people who will answer, the people who will say, hey, that's Elizabeth calling. I will pay attention, I'll pick up. And so that's going back to what my dad told me in my 20s, and I blew him off, which is start with the people who know you and appreciate you, and then work out from there. So really going back to the basics.
Yeah, I think that touching base with your warm audience, reaching out to your friends and families and colleagues and vendors and people that you've worked with the most, that's the biggest thing. And a lot of people have been used, and Juliet, you mentioned this a little bit before, and we see people that have tried to automate that warm feeling thing with bots, chat bots or autoresponders, and that works for a specific point, especially if you need you got a bigger audience or doing something. But honestly, I think you need within a couple touch points, you got to be touching those people on an individual basis. I don't think especially those that, I get tired of the chat bot. Is this the real person I'm trying to talk to, or am I getting another bot? What's an automated message? And those work great for a steer team, but we also know that, hey, those algorithms change almost on a monthly, if not weekly basis with some of the social media platforms. So being able to tie in with people, make it something simple, like I love what you're doing there with your text quiz to 64600 where people can opt in. We've done the same thing. I've actually changed mine to on the different webinars. I wanted, hey, people want to jump on a 30-minute phone call, they can with me, just going by talkwithscottcarson.com. Something simple to get on schedules for people, and trying just to, hey, let's encourage that call. Trying to make sure, one of the things I like to do is like, okay, let's make sure I'm talking to 10 people a day that maybe I haven't talked to in a while, and just connecting and sharing, and hey, what's going on? What's working for you? What struggles do you have? Because everybody's got struggles out there. And I think the best thing you can do is talk to people who are going through the same thing, who maybe are helping you overcome. Like I see some people who are joining us on here. I love what Jim Ross is doing, who's one of the guys on here. He's the creator of the virtual self-storage summit, who's done a great job in that niche. And he's done a thing where he's bringing on weekly, doing small roundtable panels with people in that industry. So people bring on he's bringing on a few vendors to talk about the market and that type of real estate investments, what's going on, how they work with that. And that's been a really effective thing out there as well too. I would love to hear from our, we've got a few minutes before our first keynote speaker comes on, from those that are attending, what's one of the big issues that you guys are dealing with? Alexis, Briant, Christine, David, GA, Jim, Chris, Laura, Mahadeven, hopefully I pronounce that, Mahadeven. If I pronounce that incorrectly, sorry. Mary Jo, Mike, Nathaniel, Sarah, even put up there to Michelle and Marie. What are some of the things, and you guys can use the chat role or the Q&A section. So if you're watching this on the Zoom, at the bottom of the control panel, you'll see a chat or you'll see a little Q&A. So feel free to type in your messages there, your questions to the speakers. But we'd love to hear a big thing that you guys are struggling with, or one, if that's not the case, one thing you're wanting to really get out of today and tomorrow at the Peace and Pivot Summit. And while they're typing in there, what's one creative thing that you've seen others do that you're like, oh, that's a great idea, ladies? Juliet, we'll start first with you, if you can think of anything.
Gosh, start with Elizabeth. I'm trying to think.
Okay.
Hot potato, back to Elizabeth.
Okay. Well, actually, one of the things, Heather Rogers was on my podcast. Actually, she was on my Facebook Live interview, which is going to be a podcast shortly. And she was talking about most of her business comes from performing at corporate events. So, being there live, doing her magic and her sort of mental training, helping people rethink themselves through magic. And so now what she's doing is she's going back to her corporate clients and being a special guest on some of the meetings to wake up the participants. So I've got all these people who are Zooming in there at a Zoom meeting, and they're actually eating lunch or texting during the Zoom because they can't be caught. She's there to get people more engaged. So I'm curious to hear how it all goes. Oh. And we have somebody here from Alexis Rego who says that I realized my marketing strategy relied on in-person networking too much. Now I'm diversifying and shifting more towards LinkedIn to create new connections. Shifted all hourly consultants to Zoom meetings. It's been simple.
Yeah, he is joining us from Hawaii, actually.
Yay.
If
Nice.
I'm Billy said, yeah, Alexis Rago, yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's the thing too. In-person networking is great. You can still accomplish that with Zoom. I'll actually be going through a couple of things tomorrow morning on a couple of things you can use with LinkedIn to help increase those connections or expand those connections or dive in and still be able to prospect and find potential clients or people that fall inside of your ideal client or avatar out there for you. So join us in the first thing in the morning tomorrow, Alexis. Michelle Young, our Michelle at Play says, I'd love to hear what sort of piece and pivot process struggles the panelists have gone through themselves. We talked about that briefly. We'll come back to that. Sarah Farrar says it would be great for you to specifically address how to keep teams close and connected during this time. While we can do what we need to de-stress during this time, I'm finding a new source of stress, and that's keeping my team connected. It's a good one.
That is.
I just think one of the things that I have found from talking to people is the more you can bring your team together like this, and it doesn't have to be around work. I think it's one of these, hey, what's going on? Like we did this with the podcasters hangout last Wednesday night. What are you feeling? What are you stressed out about? You know, some people were very stressed out, like our friend Misty Phillips. Her husband had just been laid off, or other people have been furloughed. And so people trying to figure out opportunities, who's hiring, you know, applying for the SBA 7A loans or the disaster, you know, emergency relief grants that are available out there. So, you know, I think it's the biggest thing. It's just still coming together, just touching base. Hey, how are you doing? And then truly listening to your team's needs, because everybody has a whole variety of different things, right, ladies? Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. Also, one of the big pivots that I've seen that I've really, really liked was one of my clients, Brooke Walker, works with people who have escaped from cults. She grew up in a cult, and she has taken those techniques and moved them into the corporate space now, because people are readjusting to a new world. It's all the same sort of thing. And she never, you know, as soon as it happened, she's like, well, wait a minute, that's no different than leaving a corporate environment or being, you know, propelled out of a corporate environment than it is when you leave a very structured place and then you're out in the world by yourself. So I thought that was a pretty cool pivot that she did. I know it sounds weird, guys, but it really is sort of the same when she laid it out to me.
Nice.
Just as people who've been talking about personal trauma or family trauma, surviving that, now you say, well, okay, here's a trauma. How do you survive this? This is another trauma. So it all relates.
Mm-hmm.
It totally does. It totally all does relates there. Let me pull back up here. What else we got on here? So Alexis actually from Naperville, not Hawaii, but part of the brand. My apology, Alexis, on that there for you. Let's see here. Who else has responded? We got that. We discussed that already. I'll kind of go back and address Michelle's question here. I just basically, look, I know things are going to slow down, so we've pivoted with a couple of things of like, okay, let's go and make sure we have some sort of regularity in our schedule and try to put something as a schedule and getting up still in the morning, not sleeping until 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, making sure the TV doesn't really turn on until 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Working a normal schedule as best I can has helped me get through a lot of this and still try to keep a positive attitude. Knowing that, hey, everybody's in the same position that we are, you know, it doesn't do any good to sit here and cry in my beer. I've got to focus on actions and making sure things are rocking and rolling, still in place. Things have slowed down. I'm not going to say they haven't, but knowing, okay, what's plan B, what's plan C, and kind of putting those things in place. And I know that Elizabeth and Juliet both talked about they're kind of doing those things as well too, out there earlier on too.
And this is a great time to get that to-do list done. I'm actually in the process of switching CRMs right now as well. And I'm doing something very different. I'm actually doing the work myself, because most of the time my VAs run my back end. And if I have to jump on and do something, I have no clue. So I'm actually learning the new system myself. And So in the future, I quite often will post, or I want to do something spur of the moment. I'll get an idea on the weekend. And in the past, I haven't been able to execute. So I'm using this as a growth period to see how difficult all this really is.
Yeah. I'm texting Rhonda here just to make sure she's still good to go here in a second. Just checking in.
Anybody else want to share some of the things that you're hoping to get out of this? I know we have a whole bunch of people that just jumped on too. Patrick Perrette, maybe. I'll just put him on the spot. I don't know, Nathaniel, Mike. I probably shouldn't have said his last name, huh? Sorry, Patrick. Jim, any of you guys share some things that you want to get out of this or what's been going on for you?
Why don't we at least have them share where part of the country they're in? We know Alexis is from Naperville. Where are you guys at? Jim, I think, is from Utah. Laura's from here in Texas. Sarah's from here in Austin, Texas. So yeah, share us where you're from. Maybe that'd be the easiest thing to prime the pump for you guys.
Wait a minute, Jim's from Utah? So am I. I don't know him. Wimberley? Where's Wimberley, Texas? Los Angeles?
Michigan.
Anybody else? Okay.
Okay.
Rhonda getting ready to, somebody have a question here? Oh, he's in a call. He's in Salt Lake City. Okay, you're my neighbor. I'm in Sandy. I've done all my marketing and training guides. Oh, so Mike is saying that he's done all his marketing and training guides in redone. That's good. See, that's the kind of thing we all need to be doing, is putting all that together and getting stuff redone. That's really great, Mike. Mike, what do? You want to share that? And that Tim is sharing, he's from Kansas City. Patrick lives in Utah. Patrick and I are part of BMG together. So Patrick, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Oh, you're a real estate lender. Okay. That's really great, because you're about to get really busy, I suspect. With zero interest rates and the forbearances that are going on. Hopefully it'll all work out. We won't end up like in 2008 again with that. Let's see. Laura says she's hoping to get some tips and keeping the enthusiasm going on deals that are now moving at a snail's pace. Investors are getting nervous. Yes, that's completely understandable. So you must, I assume you're in real estate or notes or something like that. Is that right, Laura? Something that, yeah, notes. Yeah. So,
one of the things that one of my colleagues said to me, calming me, talking me down off the ceiling, basically, is don't take it personally when people slow down or pull back, because indeed this is affecting everybody. So keep the connections open and don't take it personally if they're not, if they say no or if they cancel. Just let people pause, because they may need to at this point.
Yeah. Jim is sharing that he's looking for ways to keep building on the sense of community that he's already started. And yeah, Jim, that can be a little bit scary right now, just because Elizabeth and I talked about this earlier in the week. We're finding so many people are just in fear and they're not showing up. So that sense of community is a little bit difficult to get those people tapped back in and out of that fear. Nathaniel says he is a real estate investor with 14 units in your first year. Wow. That is really good. An avid follower of Meryl Chandler. Yes, aren't we all? I'm one of Meryl's clients and Meryl's one of my clients as well. Just looking to pick up some skills to develop your entrepreneurial mindset further. Well, you're in the right place with Meryl, because my gosh, that guy has more energy than anybody I have ever seen. Truly amazing. I will tell you, talk about an energetic guy. Sometime, I think it was on a Saturday or Sunday morning, I was kind of up at I get up really early. So, I'm up at like 5:15 working, and all of a sudden I get a text from Meryl, and I'm like, dude, it's 5:30. Like, most people wouldn't even be up, but he's up, he's working on his book, he's doing all sorts of stuff. So I don't think he ever sleeps. So it's a good person to follow.
Anybody else want to put in? I would just
Good.
want to put in a note for the introverts like me to say, it is still possible to move forward, even if you aren't as energetic as Juliet and Meryl or Scott. So Mary being the resident introvert, really happy, just curled up on the sofa with a cat and a book. It is still possible to be in action.
It is. I assume Scott's checking on Rhonda. Anybody else want to share? Well, Rhonda should have been starting here, but I don't know what's going on. Anybody else want to share? Nate, where are you at? Or do you go by Nate or Nathaniel? We'll just say Nathaniel. Where are you located? I want to know where he has those 14 units. Anybody else want to share too while we're waiting for this to
Linda
come
up
on?
there, where are you from? Mary Jo? Chris?
Any of you? Chris Watanabe. That name sounds familiar. Where are you from, Chris? We'll just pick on people now.
Yes.
Here they
So
thought they
I
were
don't
just.
know. I don't know if Rhonda's missed her appointment. I know that she got the emails and confirmed for that, and I've sent her a text message and just left her another voicemail and resent it. So why don't we do this? I'll jump in and do my presentation. We'll have a rebook for tomorrow. I'll wing it here with everybody, and we'll go from there. How's that sound? So
That sounds perfect.
all right, cool.
Sounds great.